A verdade chocante: microplásticos encontrados em nossos cérebros. Descubra a alarmante presença de microplásticos nos cérebros humanos e como combatê-los.
All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're tackling something kind of a little bit freaky. We're talking microplastics
Microplastics.
in the human brain.
Yeah.
You heard that right? Tiny bits of plastic working their way into our gray matter.
And what's wild is it's not just like a little trace amount, you know?
Right.
The Times of India reported that scientists are finding like roughly a spoonful
My goodness.
of these microplastics in human brains.
A spoonful.
Yeah.
Okay, now that's giving me the ick factor.
Yeah.
So where are these microplastics coming from, and what does it mean for us?
Right.
We've got a stack of research and news reports to unpack today.
Yeah.
Let's get started.
So think about all the ways you encounter plastic every single day, right?
Yeah.
Food packaging, water bottles, even in the air we breathe.
Right.
That's where these microplastics originate, and they enter our bodies mainly through ingestion and inhalation.
Okay, so basically there's no escaping them.
Yeah.
But here's what really surprised me in the Times of India article. It mentioned that our brains actually contain way more microplastics compared to other organs like the liver or kidneys. Why is that?
That's a question researchers are still trying to figure out, but one theory is that our blood-brain barrier, which is meant to protect our brains, right, might be more permeable to these tiny plastic particles.
Okay, so they're getting in and they're sticking around in our brains, but what does that actually do to us?
A commentary report in the Brain Medicine Journal pointed out some serious potential health risks linked to microplastics. We're talking about things like oxidative stress, which is basically like rust forming inside your body,
Whoa.
damaging cells and increasing the risk of all sorts of diseases.
And inflammation too, right? I know that's linked to a lot of health problems.
Exactly. Chronic inflammation can wreak havoc on your body, but there's even more to be concerned about. Microplastics might be messing with our immune systems,
Really?
making us more vulnerable to infections. There's even some evidence from animal studies suggesting they can impact learning and memory.
Whoa, hold on. This is starting to sound pretty scary.
Yeah, and that's not all. The Times of India also highlighted a study linking microplastics found in carotid artery plaque to a higher risk of heart attack, stroke, and even death.
Okay, deep breaths, everyone. This is a lot to process,
I know.
but I know you wouldn't leave us hanging without some practical advice.
Yo.
What can we do to protect ourselves from this microplastic invasion?
Well, one of the biggest things you can do is switch from bottled water to tap water.
But bottled water is supposed to be, cleaner.
That's a common misconception. Bottled water often contains significantly more microplastics than tap water. We have an article from Genomic Press that estimates drinking bottled water exposes you to about 90,000 microplastic particles per year. Compare that to tap water, which comes in at around 4,000.
Wow, that's a huge difference.
Ah.
Ditching the plastic bottles is a good starting point. What else can we do in our daily lives?
Another important step is to avoid heating food in plastic containers.
Oh, shoot. I am so guilty of that.
It's a really common habit, but when plastic is heated, it can release more microplastics into your food.
Got it. No more nuking leftovers in those flimsy plastic containers. What about the food itself? Should we be worried about what we're eating?
Choosing fresh whole foods over highly processed options is always a good idea.
That makes sense. We've got an article from India today mentioning that processed foods like chicken nuggets have a much higher level of microplastics than, say, a simple chicken breast.
Exactly. The more processing involved, the more opportunities there are for microplastics to sneak in.
So we're talking about drinking tap water, avoiding heating food in plastic, and choosing less processed foods. What other everyday habits should we be mindful of?
Well, it's interesting. As we delve deeper into these sources, right, it becomes clear that microplastics are practically unavoidable in our modern lives.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Even though these particles are tiny,
Right?
our choices can have a big impact.
Okay, I like where you're going with this. So it's not just about feeling helpless and bombarded by plastic.
Yeah.
We actually have some control over this.
Absolutely. Think about it. Every time you choose a reusable water bottle over a single-use plastic one, you're making a difference.
Right. It's like we're casting a vote for a less plastic-filled world.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other ways we can kind of flex our consumer muscles to fight back against these microplastics?
Definitely, you can bring your own reusable bags to the grocery store. Choose products with minimal packaging and support companies that are actively trying to reduce their plastic usage.
So we can actually make a statement with our shopping habits. I love that.
Exactly. Those choices might seem small, but when enough people make them, they create a powerful demand for change.
It's like a ripple effect,
Yeah.
right? What about things like plastic utensils and those takeaway coffee cups with plastic linings? Those are hard to avoid sometimes.
I hear you, those are sneaky sources of microplastics, but switching to reusable alternatives like bamboo cutlery or carrying your own coffee cup can make a big difference.
Okay, those are definitely doable changes. What about tea? I'm a big tea drinker, and I've heard some tea bags can be a problem.
You're right to be mindful of that. Some tea bags, especially those made of nylon, release a shocking amount of microplastic particles when steeped in hot water.
Billions, right?
Right.
I remember reading that somewhere.
Yes, billions opting for loose leaf tea or tea bags made from natural materials is a much better choice.
So loose leaf tea, it's amazing how many hidden sources of microplastics there are. It's like they're lurking everywhere.
They really are. Even things like salt and spices have been found to contain microplastics.
No way, seriously, salt too.
It's a reminder that these particles have become truly ubiquitous. Choosing high-quality salt and spices and giving them a quick rinse before using them can help minimize your exposure.
Good tip. Okay, this is a lot to remember. What about things like skincare products and laundry detergent?
You're thinking along the right lines. Choosing natural skincare and beauty products without microbeads is a great step. Also, opting for fragrance-free or eco-friendly detergents and soaps can help reduce microplastic pollution.
So even our laundry routine can make a difference.
Absolutely. And if you have synthetic clothes like polyester, consider using a microplastic filtering laundry bag or washing machine filter to catch those tiny particles.
Okay, I'm taking notes.
Mhm.
This is a seriously eye-opening deep dive. It's amazing how many everyday choices we can make to reduce our plastic footprint.
It's empowering, right? We're not just passive victims of this microplastic invasion. We have the power to make a difference.
I love that. So besides making smart choices at home, what else can we do to tackle this problem on a larger scale?
That's where collective action comes in. We can advocate for policy changes that reduce plastic production and promote recycling and composting.
Right. We can contact our elected officials, support organizations working on these issues, and use our voices to push for change.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're all part of a larger system and our actions have consequences.
This whole discussion is making me think differently about my relationship with plastic. It's not just about convenience anymore. It's about taking responsibility for the impact our choices have on our health and the environment.
That's the perfect way to put it. And remember, you don't have to do everything perfectly. Every small step you take is a step in the right direction.
This is definitely a call to action. But what about those microplastics that are already out there in the environment? Is there any hope of cleaning up that mess?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Scientists are definitely working on it, exploring all sorts of innovative cleanup technologies.
Like what? Give us some hope here.
Well, one promising approach is bioremediation, which basically uses microorganisms to break down those pollutants.
So, tiny little creatures eating plastic. That's pretty awesome.
It is. And there are other cool things in development too, like special filters that can capture microplastics from water and soil. They're even experimenting with magnetic nanoparticles that can attract and remove them.
Wow, that's incredible. It sounds like scientists are getting pretty creative with these solutions.
They are. But as amazing as these technologies are, it's important to remember that prevention is always the best strategy.
Right. It's much easier to reduce plastic use in the first place than to try to clean it up later.
Exactly. So it's really a multi-pronged approach, reducing our own consumption, advocating for systemic change, and supporting the development of these cleanup technologies.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to the whole microplastic problem. It's a lot to take in, but I'm feeling more empowered than overwhelmed.
That's great to hear. And it's important to remember that we're still in the early stages of understanding this issue.
So there's still a lot we don't know about microplastics and their long-term effects on human health.
Absolutely. For example, how do different types of microplastics interact with our bodies? Do they accumulate over time? What are the specific health consequences of long-term exposure? There's a whole world of research still to be done.
It's a bit daunting to think about all the unknowns, but also exciting to know that scientists are on the case, working to find answers and solutions.
You got it. It's a fascinating and rapidly evolving field, and the findings could have huge implications for public health and environmental policy down the road.
Well, I have to say, this has been an incredibly informative and thought-provoking deep dive. I've learned so much about this hidden threat lurking in our everyday lives.
Me too. And I think the biggest takeaway for everyone listening is this: microplastics are a serious issue, but we're not powerless.
Right. We can all make choices in our daily lives to reduce our plastic footprint and protect our health. And we can use our voices to advocate for change on a larger scale.
Exactly. Every little bit helps. Whether it's choosing tap water over bottled water, bringing your own reusable bag to the store, or supporting companies that are committed to sustainability, your actions can make a difference.
This whole conversation has really inspired me to take a closer look at my own habits and see where I can make some changes.
That's fantastic. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about progress, not perfection.
Well said. So to everyone listening out there, we hope you feel empowered to take action. Even small changes can have a ripple effect.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and stay empowered.